Hey, parents, ever wonder what it'd be like to raise a kid who dreams so big they could change the world? Picture this. A guy sketching flying machines in the 1400s, way before planes were even a thing, painting masterpieces, designing bridges, and chasing ideas no one else dared to touch. That's Leonardo da Vinci. He wasn't just a genius. He was a dreamer who didn't let limits stop him. And here's the kicker. He didn't keep that magic to himself. He shared it with the kids around him, planting seeds of curiosity that grew into something epic. So what if we could do that for our own kids today? Listen, parenting's tough. Between homework battles and screen time wars, it's easy to feel like we're just keeping the ship afloat. But what if we took a page from Leonardo's book and showed our kids how to dream without limits? Not just safe, small dreams, but wild, crazy, world-shaking ones. Today, we're stepping into Renaissance Italy to uncover how Leonardo inspired the young minds around him and how you can spark that same fire in your family. Grab your coffee or a glass of wine if it's been that kind of day, because this is about to get fun. By the end, you'll have tricks to unleash your kids' imagination and maybe rediscover your own. Ready to dream big? Let's dive into Leonardo's world. Leonardo da Vinci was born in 1452 in a little Italian village called Vinci. He wasn't some fancy noble. He was the son of a notary and a peasant woman, growing up with dirt under his nails and a head full of questions. No formal schooling, no silver spoon, just a kid who couldn't stop wondering. By the time he was a teenager, he was apprenticed to an artist in Florence. But he didn't just paint. He sketched birds to figure out flight, dissected animals to understand muscles, and doodled inventions no one had seen before. And here's the cool part. He didn't do it alone. Kids, apprentices, nephews, neighbors were often around him, soaking it all up. See, Leonardo wasn't married and didn't have his own children, but he was surrounded by young people in his workshops. Historians say he'd take on apprentices as young as 12, teaching them to draw, mix paints, and think. But he didn't just drill them with rules. He'd sit them down with a feather or a leaf and say, "Look at this. What could it do?" He'd sketch a wing and ask, "What if we flew like birds?" That's dreaming without limits, taking something ordinary and turning it into magic. And those kids, they didn't just learn art. They learned to see the world as a playground of possibilities. Let's zoom in on that. Imagine Leonardo in his messy workshop. Tables covered in parchment, ink stains everywhere, showing a 14-year-old apprentice how a bird's wing bends. He'd say, "Don't just copy it. Imagine it bigger, big enough to carry a man." That's not a lesson in drawing. That's a lesson in dreaming. He didn't care if it sounded nuts. Flying machines in the 15th century? Come on. But he planted that seed. No ideas too wild. And those kids grew up with that buzzing in their heads, some becoming artists and inventors themselves. So what's this mean for us? As parents, we're Leonardo to our kids. They're watching us, even when we don't think they are. Next time your little one's doodling stick figures, don't just say, "Nice job." Ask, "What's this guy doing? Could he fly? Build a castle?" Push their imagination past the page. Leonardo didn't settle for good enough. He chased the impossible. We can too. It's not about forcing them to be geniuses. It's about letting them dream as big as they want. Think about your own house. Maybe your kid's obsessed with Legos, building wobbly towers that collapse half the time. You could shrug and move on, but what if you pulled a Leonardo move? Sit down, grab a brick, and say, "What if this tower touched the sky? What would hold it up?" Suddenly, it's not just a toy. It's a launch pad. That's what Leonardo did. He took the everyday and made it limitless. His apprentices didn't have iPads or science kits, but they had him, nudging them to ask, "What if?" Your kids got you. Be that nudge. Leonardo's curiosity was insane. He'd spend hours watching water swirl in a stream, sketching how it moved, then dream of canals and dams. He'd study a horse's legs, then design war machines. And he didn't keep it secret. He'd drag his apprentices along, saying, "Look closer. What's it telling us?" One story goes that he once bought caged birds just to set them free and watch how they flew. He wasn't perfect. Half his ideas never worked. But he didn't care. He'd tell the kids, "Failure's just a step. Keep going." That's dreaming without limits. Not being afraid to flop as long as you're reaching. For us, that's gold. Your kid's gonna mess up, spill paint, bomb a test, quit soccer after 2 practices. Leonardo didn't scold his apprentices for shaky lines. He'd say, "Try it again. What else could it be?" So when your teenager's sulking over a bad grade, don't just lecture. Ask, "What's one thing you could tweak? What's the wildest way to fix it?" Let them dream past the failure. Leonardo's workshop wasn't about perfection. It was about possibility. Your home can be that too. Here's a fun one. Leonardo once sketched a giant crossbow, big enough to launch boulders. It never got built, but picture him showing that drawing to a wide-eyed kid in his studio, saying, "Imagine this defending a city or flying over it." That kid probably didn't sleep that night, dreaming up his own crazy machines. Leonardo didn't just teach skills. He fired up imaginations. And yeah, he was quirky. Historians say he'd wear bright pink tunics in a world of drab browns, just because he could. He lived like his dreams, bold, loud, limitless. So, how do we bring this to 2025? Say your kid's glued to a video game. Instead of yanking controller, sit down and ask, "What's the coolest thing in this world? Could you make it real?" Or if they're into drawing, grab a pencil and say, "What's the wildest thing this would be? A dragon, a spaceship?" Leonardo didn't have screens, but he had sketches, and he turned them into gateways. You don't need to be an artist. You just need to ask questions. Make their world bigger, one what if at a time. This isn't just for kids. It's for us too. Middle age can feel like a creativity graveyard, right? Bills, jobs, laundry. Where's the room for dreaming? But Leonardo was 50 when he painted the Mona Lisa, still sketching flying machines in his 60s. He never stopped. So if you're stuck in a rut, think, what's my flying machine? That project you shelved, that trip you never took. Leonardo didn't let age or failure box him in. He'd tell his apprentices, the sky's not the limit, it's the start. Grab that for yourself. Dream big, and your kids will see it's never too late. Quick challenge. Think of one time this week your kid hit a wall. Maybe they gave up on a puzzle or freaked out over homework. Got it? Now picture Leonardo leaning over their shoulder, saying, what if this didn't stop you? What's the wildest way past it? Write that down later. I'm serious. It's small, but it's how he rolled, and it's how those kids learned to dream without limits. Leonardo's real genius wasn't just his inventions. Most never got built. It was his mindset. He left notebooks crammed with ideas, submarines, tanks, helicopters, stuff centuries ahead of his time. And he'd show them to his apprentices, saying, this might not work today, but someday he didn't need to see it fly. He just needed them to believe it could. That's what stuck. Some of those kids grew up to push art and science forward, all because Leonardo told them limits were optional. For us, that's the jackpot. Your kid might not invent the next airplane, but they could dream up something wild. A story, a gadget, a way to help someone. Leonardo didn't measure success by finished products. He measured it by questions asked. So when your little ones babble about space or robots, don't nod and move on. Dive in. What would it look like? How would it work? Plant that seed. It might grow into something you can't even imagine. Parenting today is a circus. Screens, schedules, stress. Leonardo didn't have TikTok, but he had a world telling him flying was impossible. He ignored it. Your kid's got a million voices saying, stick to the script. But you could be their Leonardo, pushing them to dream louder. Next time they're zoned out on their phone, don't just sigh. Ask, what's the wildest thing you build if you could? Turn distraction into fuel. Leonardo's apprentices didn't have tech, but they had him. You're enough to spark that fire. So here's the deal. Leonardo da Vinci didn't just dream without limits. He taught kids to do it too. He took a feather, a horse, a river, and turned them into possibilities, showing apprentices that no idea is too big, no failure's final. He didn't have a rule book, just a question. What if? That's your power, parents. Ask it, live it. Let your kids see you chase something wild, and they'll run after their own dreams. Leonardo's lesson isn't about being a genius. It's about never stopping at the edge. Take that home and watch what happens. All right, parents, it's go time. Leonardo da Vinci didn't wait for permission to dream. He just did it, and he pulled kids along for the ride. Right now, pick one thing your kid's into, drawing, games, whatever, and ask them, what's the wildest thing this could be? Do it tonight. Don't let limits box them in. Or you're their spark. Light it up. If this flipped a switch for you, hit that like button. I need to know. Subscribe if you're hungry for more stories that push you to dream big. I've got a stack coming. Comment below. What's one crazy dream your kids got, or one you're dusting off of yourself? I read everyone. Let's talk and share this. Send it to every parent who's ready to unleash their kids' imagination. We're building a dreamers club here. Your homework. Sit with your kids tonight and ask, what's the wildest thing you'd make or do if nothing stopped you? Then tell them yours. Keep it real. Keep it big. Watch their faces light up. You're not just raising them. You're dreaming with them. Thanks for hanging out with me. You're awesome, even when you're wiped. Keep asking what if, and I'll see you in the next one. Dream on.